Tuesday afternoon to you. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. Indians getting ready to open up a quick two-game series against the Chicago Cubs. Shane Bieber will be the pitcher. We'll talk a little Tribe later in the show, but we are going to talk plenty of Browns football. NFL schedule release day tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We'll get to that. Whenever we talk football, we love to have Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot. Mary Kay, appreciate the time as always. You had a tweet over the weekend that caused quite a stir. Browns all in on Baker Mayfield, not interested in trading for Aaron Rodgers or anybody else. Take us through just how important that is and how much Baker Mayfield, I know, probably appreciates the Browns coming out and kind of making that known.
Yeah, that was part of my Browns Insider package for Sunday, which there were a lot of nuggets in there just about some things that happened in the draft and some decent insider information that I think people, if they haven't seen it yet, would like to know about. But one of those was, with all the buzz that was generated last week about Aaron Rodgers and, the ESPN guys talking about how this would be the perfect landing spot for him. I was basically able to kind of throw some water on that and just let everyone know that that's not going to happen in Cleveland, that the Browns are all in on Baker Mayfield. And, he might even get an extension this offseason. If not, he'll probably get it next offseason. He is their quarterback of the future. They haven't come right out and said, oh, yes, we're definitely going to extend his contract, but they have indicated that. Jimmy Haslam has sort of indicated it's more a matter of when than if. And just this whole Aaron Rodgers thing, it's just not going to happen here.
It's not really that big of a surprise because that's not the way Andrew Berry operates. There's a plan in place. He's shown very much that there are contingencies to those plans, but he's going to stick to the plan. And long-term success is what they're looking to build.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of it. Now, it's not ludicrous or outlandish to think that teams would at least consider trying to acquire or trade for an Aaron Rodgers. But most teams aren't going to be in a position or need to do that or want to be able to do that. For the Browns, they would have to give up Baker Mayfield, who's only 26 years old. They'd have to give up first-round picks probably in each of the next 2 years, sort of mortgage their future at a time when Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be getting ready to turn 30 in the 2022 season. Jarvis Landry is going to be turning 30 in the 2022 season. So it's time to start turning over this sort of explosive offense that they have right now. And they're going to need some of those first round picks to be able to do that. So they don't want to give those things up. And they truly believe that Baker Mayfield can win Super Bowls for them. If they didn't think that, then I think they would consider doing something. I think they would consider upgrading because he's due for a big payday very soon, as we mentioned. He's going to make somewhere between $35 million a year and $40 million a year, depending on what happens this season. But they're ready to make that kind of financial commitment if he can take them to the next level.
And Mary Kay, this one of the reasons they're excited to do that is because Baker Mayfield this year, assuming he stays healthy, will become the first quarterback to start 3 consecutive seasons for the Browns since they returned in 1999. I got this one right in our pre-show meeting. Do you know the last quarterback that did it? I know you probably do because we covered the team at the same time.
For 3 straight seasons, was it Vinny?
Yep, Vinny Testaverde. And before that, It was Bernie Kosar. So, yeah, you and I got that right. That's kind of hard to believe that you have to go that far back to find a quarterback that started 3 consecutive years for the Browns.
Yeah, it's been a long, hard road. And there's a T-shirt or a jersey with all the names on it that we are all familiar with and that we have all seen. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's been a long time coming for them to get a quarterback like this. They want to make that commitment to, that it's going to get to his second contract. And it's exciting for Browns fans. So this caused a little bit of a stir last week with the whole Aaron Rodgers flap. But I think Browns fans can rest assured that the Browns feel they're in great hands with Baker Mayfield. And if you look at the last 12 games of last season, including playoffs, he threw 20 touchdowns against only 3 interceptions. He was the second highest rated quarterback, according to Pro Football Focus, only to Patrick Mahomes in the final 7 games of the season. So if he continues on that trajectory, the future is very, very bright. And there should be no reason why he can't win Super Bowls. Of course, they have to get past the Kansas City Chiefs. That's not going to be easy, but it will take a total team effort. And that's what they're trying to do now. That's why they bolstered the defense. That's why they have a complete football team now, not just a good offense.
Well, you mentioned there was the national narrative that, Aaron Rodgers could take him to the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield couldn't. Now, there are a couple of national guys that believe in Baker Mayfield. One of them, Emmanuel Ocho from Speak for Yourself. Take a listen to what he has to say.
People think that Baker is a limiting reactant for the Browns. I don't believe that to be the case. We don't have to leave the division. We don't have to leave the last decade to see that there was a man by the name of Joe Flacco who helped the Ravens win a Super Bowl. I say help because he didn't get carried to that Super Bowl. Joe Flacco had 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions that year. 22 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 59% completion percentage. The year the Ravens won the Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield had 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions last year, including the playoffs. He had more than 30 touchdowns and fewer than 10 interceptions. One of only 5 quarterbacks in the National Football League to do so. Aaron Rodgers, Ryan Tannehill, Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield. That is the list of the great quarterbacks last season that Baker Mayfield found himself in the company of. And you know what they say. You are the average of your 5 closest friends. So Baker Mayfield, if you hanging out with that kind of category, that's the talent he has. Baker Mayfield can carry the Browns to a Super Bowl. And if the Browns keep building up rosters in this offseason like they did at future offseasons like they did in this offseason, I won't be surprised if he does. Shout out to Andrew Berry, the GM. Shout out to Kevin Stefanski. We've seen it happen before. We've seen it happen in that division. Make no mistake about how great Baker Mayfield has been for the Cleveland Browns, and make no mistake about how far Baker Mayfield can carry the Cleveland Browns. Because if he has a roster to do so, Baker can absolutely carry the Browns to a Super Bowl.
Emmanuel Ocho for Speak for Yourself. And Mary Kay, that's the guy that did his research and backed up his opinion with some facts there nationally.
Former Browns player too, by the way. So yeah, you know what? I agree with Emmanuel 100%. There is no reason why, with the great supporting cast that he has around him, that Baker Mayfield cannot win Super Bowls. Once again, this offense should be very, very explosive in 2021. I mean, these guys get down into the red zone, they're dynamite. I mean, they've got an incredible running game, a great offensive line, wonderful skill players. I mean, he has what it takes. He's got every tool in the toolbox that he could possibly need to go and win a Super Bowl. And now again, they have a defense that can try to get past the Ravens and the Bills and the Chiefs and whoever else they're going to have to knock off to get to the Super Bowl. And one interesting thing will be, where will Aaron Rodgers end up? If he ends up in the AFC, obviously that's going to make it very difficult to have to try to beat him. But, they've got a complete football team now, and they're built to go the distance this year. Can they do it? A lot of things have to happen, but I absolutely think he can get the job done.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter here on cleveland.com, as well as in the pages of the Plain Dealer. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. NFL schedule release tomorrow evening. We'll talk about how many primetime games the Browns might get. We'll also talk about a kicker battle that could be going on. And Jarvis Landry out in Florida working out and trying to get better and bringing along the next group of outstanding wide receivers. Those all ahead. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. We continue talking Browns with Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. Browns beat reporter Mary Kay Cabot. Mary Kay, nothing the NFL does is small anymore, so the schedule release has become a big deal. Prime time tomorrow. Each team can now have up to 6 games in prime time with a 7th flexed because of the 17-game schedule. That includes the Browns. How many do you think the Browns get in prime time on the big stage?
Wow. It's going to be, I can't wait to find that out. I remember the year that after Derek Anderson led the Browns to that 10-6 season, I believe they had 6 primetime games in the year after that. And people could just not get enough of the Cleveland Browns after that season. The expectations were sky high. I think that's going to be something similar. They are either going to get 5 primetime games, I think, or possibly even 6. Now, that might be a little bit much, but I think that the potential is there because there are some amazing games on the schedule. And once again, the Browns move the needle. People love to watch the Cleveland Browns. They have fans all over the world, and the ratings are usually excellent when the Browns are playing. And again, the expectations are going to be so high so that when you see the Browns playing the Chiefs and playing the Ravens, even playing the Steelers. There are some pretty great games, and I think they're going to splash them on prime time a lot.
Yeah, the Patriots is another one, the Chargers with Justin Herbert. It's a tough schedule. When you look at some of the teams and some of the quarterbacks that the Browns potentially have to face, it is a pretty significant task that is ahead of the Browns schedule-wise.
Yeah, it's a much tougher schedule, depending on how it all shakes out, than it was last season. Last season, they had the 4th easiest schedule in the NFL. This year, they have the 9th toughest. Not as tough as the Steelers, not as tough as the Ravens, but nonetheless, from a one less loss standpoint, they have the 9th toughest this year, and that's because they have to go on the road and play the Patriots, and they have to play the Chiefs, and they have to play the Raiders. Green Bay, we don't know how difficult the Green Bay game is going to be. If Aaron Rodgers isn't there anymore, going to Green Bay on the road will be a whole lot easier than it would have been. But once again, who knows if he might not end up with one of their AFC opponents. So yes, it's definitely going to be more difficult. And of course, they added the 17th game. Their 17th opponent, not in the 17th week, but their last opponent on this schedule is going to be the Arizona Cardinals. They went 8-8 last year. That is not going to be a walk in the cake, as Butch Davis used to say, because J.J. Watt is out there. Chandler Jones is coming back from an injury. So that's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be they're going to have to be on point, and they're going to have to hope to stay healthy this year.
Yeah, without question. Now, there is a little bit of competition for Cody Parkey as they signed a kicker. Is this true competition? Is this a guy that can potentially push Cody Parkey, or is it more, camp competition type of thing?
I think it's more of a camp leg kind of thing. He's only made 22 of his 28 field goals, and he has only made 10 of 16 from 40 yards or more. And that's where Cody Parkey really shines and excels, is on those longer kicks, even above 50 yards. So I really don't think it's someone that's going to come in here and take Cody Parkey's job away, but definitely someone that will help him get better, press him a little bit, and he's got to be looking over his shoulder, and that never hurts anyone to have competition.
Yeah, they signed Chase McLaughlin off waivers, so that will bring into camp and see how that plays out. Now, I know you've had video, and here's some more video. Jarvis Landry out in Florida. This one is given to us by the Receiver Factory. So Brandon White is the coach, and it's the Receiver Factory, and they say won't get you faster, won't get you stronger, will get you open. And again, Jarvis Landry there with Justin Jefferson, Baker Mayfield throwing some of the passes as well. But again, guys working on their craft. Anthony Schwartz is out there. And what about Jarvis Landry? He's kind of become the guy that takes younger receivers under his wing and helps them get better.
Well, yeah, one of the players that he's really working with this offseason a lot is Anthony Schwartz, the Browns' third-round pick out of Auburn. So, good for Jarvis. He's mentoring Anthony Schwartz. And when Anthony gets out on that football field this year and does some nice things for the Cleveland Browns, we will be able to trace it back to some of the really hard work he did with Jarvis. Jarvis is a great mentor. He will give him so many tips and pointers on getting open, running routes, which he needs help with, catching the ball. And I think it's just going to be invaluable, the amount of time Anthony is getting to spend with Jarvis this offseason.
Yeah, you mentioned it. One of the things that they said is he's not a refined route runner, and boy, that's something Jarvis can give him a graduate level class on that, and that's exactly what's going on out in Florida right now.
Yes, 100%. And not only just route running and those kinds of technical things that he's helping him with, but just things like recovery, how to take care of your body, how to read defenses. There are so many things that he is helping this young man with. And I just think that it's going to be tremendous for him and will bring him up the learning curve so much faster.
So in a couple of days, rookie minicamp will get underway in Berea Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What do you expect to see? How important are these things? Is it kind of just the rookie's chance to get to know the coaches? How do these things work, especially given the times that we're in?
Well, they're only going to have about 14 guys out there. It's not going to be a lot of players, so it's not going to be, the kind of football practice that you would expect to see in mini camps. It's really mostly going to be some individual drills, getting these guys out on the grass, getting them comfortable with their surroundings and with the playbook a little bit and with their coaches. Just a chance to get a hold of them and get them headed in the right direction for when they reconvene for either a mandatory mini camp in June or for training camp at the end of July. So it's vitally important to get them here. As far as I know, they're all going to be showing up. We have the NFLPA encouraging them not to do so because these are voluntary workouts, but they're going to be here. I believe that they are all going to come and they will get that foundation set and they will be ready when the time comes. Yeah.
And it's a chance for the coaching staff to actually finally get them in person, get them out in some football situations. Remember, in COVID, they didn't get to meet them at the combine and those kind of things as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's vitally important to have players pass the eyeball test for you. You want to see what you drafted. You want to see them in person. Everybody in the building wants to see them in person for the first time. So you will be getting a chance to see. And some of these guys are really, really young. I mean, they're 20 years old. Greg Newsome won't even be 20 by the time he hits the field for rookie minicamp. He'll be 21 soon thereafter. But right now he's still 20 years old. So is Anthony Schwartz. So, it's a chance to get these guys when they're super young and develop them. And so that you have them over the next 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever the case may be. But you want to see that they're in shape physically. It's a chance. I mean, if you see that a guy did not show up in the kind of shape that he's going to need to, for training camp. And generally, they're not in that kind of shape yet. You'll be able to, have a little heart-to-heart chat with them about that. You'll be able to kind of get a feel for how a guy picks up what you're giving him. They throw a lot of things at them right away just to kind of see who sort of pops and stands out in terms of assimilating the information. And so you can pick up a lot of things in those few days of rookie camp.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we're going to hear an awful lot about one of those rookies who will be at rookie camp this weekend, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Some big accolades going on. We'll hear from him. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports for CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns football with Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Peter Schrager from the NFL Network's Good Morning Football feels that teams that passed on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, they're going to regret it for a long time.
Here are all the defensive ends and linebackers that were selected above him. Go through those names, and I say, why does it matter that all these players are here? Because I know we have the Brady 6 and DK Metcalf had 9 receivers taken before him. I think someday we're going to look back at JOK in Cleveland and say, how did you take X over this guy as he's one of the most dominant linebackers in the sport? He's compared to Devin White. He is a burner. He is a smaller linebacker, which means he can cover tight ends. And that is really what his primary thing is going to be, coverage in the passing game. I think this guy is an absolute star. It was a surprise to many that he fell to the top 20. It was a shock to most that he fell to the top 40. The Browns got themselves a first-round talent at number 52, and I think someday we're going to look at the JOK 10, the people that were taken above him, and say, I cannot believe those guys were selected before him, and there might be a documentary someday down.
Let's bring back in Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter. And Mary Kay, what do you make of that?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people also about JOK, especially after Adam Schefter put out the report that he may have fallen because of a red flag with a heart issue heading into the NFL draft. But I actually, one of the scouts that I talked to was leafing through medical reports on JOK and found nothing in there about a heart issue. Sometimes there's gamesmanship that happens during the first couple rounds of the draft or all through the draft, really. And you never really know where those things come from. But, sometimes teams engage in things like that where not the Browns, but there might have been a team that wanted him to fall and put something out there. So it's really hard to say, but I do think from everyone that I've talked to, this is a tremendous talent. And a lot of people were reluctant maybe to draft him in the first round because some people think he's more of a safety. He does have safety size, but he's so incredibly talented. The Browns are so excited to get him. They view him as a first-round talent. I think he will be on the field as a starter from day one. I know they want to keep expectations low, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think he's going to be a starter from day one, and I think he will be on the field pretty much all the time.
So let's listen to Steve Weiss, again, NFL Network, and this is his take on JOK. Take a listen.
I want to talk about the pick that jumps out at me. That's JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I remember, yes, I'm that old, when the Charlotte Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, drafted Thomas Davis to spy Michael Vick. That was the sole purpose of them drafting him. Well, who has been the nuisance to the Cleveland Browns? It has been Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Now they've got a quasi-linebacker safety who can handle Lamar Jackson on the run. You can spy him in the pass. You can set your defense a different way. I love the strategic thinking when you draft a player like that to complement a lot of other talent on that defense. I think the Cleveland Browns, like Mark just said, are doing the right thing by raising expectations for them to try to meet themselves.
So what do you make of that one? I'm not sure that's exactly why they drafted him, but it's an interesting twist to it.
Well, one of the scouts I did talk to from another NFL team said that's what you have to do. You have to draft to stop players in your division. And he feels that JOK also will be able to chase down a Lamar Jackson. Now, he did not run a 40 at his pro day. And I'm told that that's because he didn't believe that he would have the flashiest 40 time at his pro day. However, he is fast on film. He's very fast on tape, and he gets there in a hurry and you know, with an explosiveness and a violence, and sort of plays with his hair on fire kind of guy. So, you know, I do think that he will come in handy against the Kyler Murrays and the Patrick Mahomes and the Lamar Jacksons and the running quarterbacks, as well as the tight ends over the middle and the backs coming out of the backfield.
When you look at a linebacker like JOK, my thought is he's kind of the new age linebacker because you're seeing more three wide receiver sets. You're seeing more tight ends that are able to run fast. You're going to need bigger guys than safeties, you know, enlarged safeties that can run like him. I think he's kind of the new age with the passing that has come into the league. This is what linebackers are going to become, I think.
Well, it seems like it's trending that way to a degree, but that's also why it makes it a little bit puzzling that somebody didn't snatch him up a little earlier, because so many teams obviously have to defend against the pass like this in the passing league, have to try to stop the tight ends coming over the middle, you know, have to try to solve the Kelceys and the Kittles and the Gronkowskis and whatnot. So it is a little stunning that no one else thought to scoop him up a little quicker than the Browns did because of what you're mentioning here. So I'm very interested to see. There are plenty of people that think that he could make a lot of noise for, for some rookie awards this year, or that he's going to be one to show up a lot of those guys that you showed on that graphic earlier. Now, again, he doesn't have the Micah Parsons speed. He's not necessarily as fast as some of the other guys that went ahead of him. So I don't know if that was where the ding came from, but the Browns are certainly excited to have it.
Yeah, and you know what? Browns fans are as well. And you know what? Points to Andrew Berry. He went up and got him. That was sometimes the analytics people, they won't trade up. He saw a guy he liked. He went up and got him.
Yeah, you have to give him credit for that. You know, we all kind of had him hemmed in as someone that would be trade up averse and maybe hybrid linebacker averse. But heading into the draft, I said that they needed to get a hybrid linebacker in round 1 or round 2. And then the day before they traded for JOK, I also wrote that Andrew needed to go trade up and get JOK in that second round. So that kind of worked out pretty well. And you know what? I think it goes to show you as well that Andrew Berry should not be painted into any kind of a corner for what he will or will not do. They will take each situation on its own merit and evaluate it. And if it's the right decision, they will make it.
How refreshing is that we're talking about the guy running the football show over in Berea and saying, you know, he's making all the right moves. That's a welcome change.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, and we have to give John Dorsey a lot of credit, too, because John Dorsey added a lot of talent to this football team, and he had really good evaluators working for him in Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith. Those guys were really good at their jobs as well. So this isn't the first time the Browns have someone that knows how to add talent to the football team, but it's the first time that the Browns have had alignment with their front office and their coaching staff, all the way from, you know, the Haslams to Paul DePodesta to Andrew Berry to Kevin Stefanski and the rest of the staff. So that's the major difference. They're all singing from the same hymnal, as Mike Pettin used to say. Andrew Berry will go out and he'll find guys that Joe Woods wants for his defense, you know, the smaller linebacker or whatnot. You know, he'll go out and get those tight ends that Kevin Stefanski needs to run his offense. They'll go out and they'll find those really athletic offensive linemen. So when you're all pulling in the same direction, this is the kind of organization and success you can have.
Mary Kay Cabot, and I'm going to take one more time out on the other side of the break. We will talk about the way some people are viewing the AFC North. It's a little surprising. We'll also take a look at 4 guys that could continue to develop from kind of surprising 2020s. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports for CLE continues. We continue talking Browns football. Chris Canty of ESPN was ranking the divisions. Take a listen to what he says about the AFC North.
Juju Smith-Schuster shared these thoughts with Pro Football Talk. Quote, the AFC North is just probably the hardest division right now to win, and guys like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and Ben, I think every team is getting to the point where it's like, man, they're really good. It is what it is. Chris, is the AFC North, you played in it, the best division in football?
No, it's not the best division in football. I don't think it's a top 3 division in football right now. I think the best division in football is the AFC East. And I know it seems funny to say that because Tom Brady left that division a year ago, and we're talking about the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Patriots.
He never had to play a good quarterback his whole career.
That was a foregone conclusion every year. Pats win the AFC East, no-brainer.
100%. But this year it's different because you're talking about the Buffalo Bills with a bona fide MVP candidate in Josh Allen, a team that played in the AFC Championship game a year ago. You have the Miami Dolphins, who were a double-digit win team from a year ago. They were knocking on the playoffs. They had their rookie quarterback, who was coming off of hip surgery, by the way, start the majority of the games, and the team had a winning record in those starts. And then you see what Bill Belichick did in free agency in the NFL draft. He went out and spent a bunch of money, and he was able to get a quarterback in round one. So I just feel like all of those teams, the way that they're trending, how they're positioned when you look at their personnel, the AFC East is going to be the toughest division in football this year.
Didn't 3 of the AFC North teams make the playoffs last year, Mary Kay? And the Ravens and the Browns are going to be contenders with the Chiefs for the AFC title. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I'm buying the Dolphins as much as he is. The Patriots, they were 7-9. I know Bill Belichick's a good coach, but 2 of those teams drafted quarterbacks in the first round too.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very interested to see how these divisions and these teams shape up, because I think a lot of people look at the AFC North now as a 2-horse race, again, with the Browns and the Ravens. People have sort of written off the Steelers a little bit because of what happened to them down the stretch and in the playoff loss to the Cleveland Browns. And I don't think people view the Bengals as being ready to contend yet. So I think there is sort of that two-team thing going on, whereas, you can make a case that, that some of these other divisions could be a little stronger collectively from top to bottom. And certainly the AFC East is one that you can maybe, put in that category. But I think the AFC North is right up there. I think that they're right up there with anyone, because you can never really count out the Steelers. They'll have a better running game this year, I think. They need some help on the offensive line. The defense should bounce back. So, yeah, I think that there are some other really good divisions, but I think the AFC North stacks right up there.
Yeah, I would say don't write off the Steelers until, until you see it for certain. They ended up getting a pretty good running back. They'll find a way to fix the offensive line, and they're going to end up, they always seem to find a way to win at least 8 or 9 games, and then, you win another 1 or 2 and you're at 10 or 11, and that just seems to be the way the Steelers roll.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they have a good defense, and they almost always have a good defense, even though that playoff game really got away from them. When a game gets away from you like that, it's really, really hard to recover from it. But I don't think people should underestimate their defense and just decide that, that they're washed up and not going to be good, because they usually find a way to rebound from things like that. And, now they have Najee Harris. They still need an offensive line. You have to support Ben Roethlisberger with an offensive line. That makes all the difference in the world for him to have that kind of protection and a good running game. They obviously have the receivers. We know that. But, he's also going to need to be protected, especially with upgrades to, some of the defenders that the Browns have brought on board this year. They're going to be able to get to Ben a lot better than they did in the past. So, but I do think that the AFC North the strength of it will depend in part on how those Steelers come back from that devastating playoff loss.
Fair enough. So let's look at 4 players looking to build on unforeseen 2020 success. This is BrownsNation.com who puts this one out. So I'm going to give you all 4 of them. Let's talk about them. So Harrison Bryant, Ronnie Harrison, Sione Takitaki, Wyatt Teller. Of those, who do you think is most likely to continue in having the success that they had a year ago and even building on it?
Well, I think Wyatt Teller is one that you really have to look at. He ended up as Pro Football Focus's #1 rated guard in the NFL. Now, his pass blocking was not where it needs to be. He has to step that up. I find it hard to believe that you can be the #1 rated guard in the NFL when your pass blocking was ranked down in the 40s or something like that. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I think that he can build on an excellent, excellent year. Ronnie Harrison, I don't know if he will get as many reps as he would like. It all depends on how Grant Delpit is coming back from the ruptured Achilles. In times when they're using 2 safeties, it probably will be mostly John Johnson and Grant Delpit. But I think there will be plenty of Ronnie Harrison in there as well. Harrison Bryant, he's going to have to beat out David Njoku for a lot of those number 2 tight end reps. And then Sione Takitaki, he's another one where he's great against the run. And I do think he'll have a chance to build on his season, but there will be times where he'll find it a little difficult in sub packages to probably get on the field, because they will have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. They will have Jacob Phillips. They will have Anthony Walker. And now it's a little bit more crowded in that linebacker room.
Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat reporter for the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. As always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Mary Kay.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Mary Kay Cabot. Make sure you read her in the pages of the Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Jake Underwood from WTAM will join us. We'll talk a little Browns. We'll also get into the Indians tribe. Get ready to open up a 2-game series against the Chicago Cubs. Shane Bieber will be the starting pitcher tonight. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports for CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. Thanks for hanging with us. Time to head to Troy on the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Take it away, Troy.
Hello, this is Troy Kozlowski calling in from Cleveland, Ohio, greatest city in the world, and I see some cuts we're going to have to make, not only to free up cap space, but, we're going to have to cut some players. I just wanted to say, in my personal opinion, I hope we don't cut Redwine. He's one of my favorite players from last year as far as on the defensive end. But I know some players are going to have to go. They're going to have to make some cap space and fill in for all the players we got, not only in free agency but in the draft. If I had to vote anybody to cut, it would be MJ Stewart. Not to say he's a bad player or anything, but, him and Hubbard would be my pick if anybody has to be cut. Just wanted to throw that out there. And here we go, Brownies. Super Bowl 55. It's ours for the taking. Dog check, woof woof. Over and out.
All right, Troy from the voicemail and Truth and Reason. Love the woof woof at the end. Let's bring in Jake Underwood from WTAM. Jake, when you look at some of the guys that might be in danger of being, let go, cut, who do you look at? Who are some guys that need to have good training camps in order to be part of this 53-man roster?
For me, the first name that comes up is Mack Wilson. Mack Wilson has been one of the more inconsistent players that we've had. You see the potential there with Mack Wilson. He doesn't break down to tackle. There's a lot of missed tackles, and, specifically in the Kansas City game, the touchdown, I believe it was Le'Veon Bell that he had. Mack Wilson just tried to throw a shoulder into him, thought that was good enough, couldn't get him to the ground, and it ended up being a touchdown, and that kind of helped them pull away there in the fourth quarter. So for me, I think it's Mack Wilson. I think Malcolm Smith, he's an older guy. Sure, he's there for the veteran leadership, but I still think that's a bit of a question mark as well. You don't expect Malcolm Smith to go in there and, be a game breaker per se. So for me, the two guys on the top of that list would have to be Mack Wilson and Greedy Williams.
Yeah, I would agree. And the linebacking room got a whole lot better, and the secondary got a whole lot more athletic. So those are needed upgrades to those types of skills if you're going to compete for the AFC Championship.
Yeah, we saw it in the Super Bowl. It comes down to speed. And luckily for Tampa Bay, I mean, we all saw Devin White and we were hoping, but it just didn't work out. But you need that speed. You need that, you're looking at these guys. There's some of these wide receivers are running 4.3 40s, and we didn't have anybody that could keep up with those guys. I don't think Mack Wilson could be the guy to do that. I don't even know if you could trust him to cover tight ends at this point. So I think that's why JOK is really the safest person when it comes to the linebackers. And I mean, at safety, I'm excited to see what Delpit could do. I think it's sad what happened last year and how, he had to miss time. So I'm excited to see what exactly, with this new speed, with this new kind of new system, because we didn't have any Joe Woods players last year with when it comes to players that he liked. So I'm excited to see how it's all going to be put together.
Let's shift gears for a little bit. Schedule comes out tomorrow, primetime. As I said earlier, nothing the NFL does is small now, so schedule release, a big deal. Teams are able to be scheduled for 6 primetime games and flexed into a 7th because of the 17-game schedule. What do you think? How many do you think the Browns get in primetime, so Monday night, Sunday night type of deals?
I think for sure, I was looking at the schedule, and it's hard to say. For sure, you're going to have a Browns-Steelers. You're going to have a Browns-Ravens. The Browns Chiefs are definitely going to be in there. So, I mean, if I had to tally it up, oddly enough, I think we could have 4 to 5, maybe 6. I think you're definitely going to, I wouldn't be shocked if the Browns versus Bengals, Steelers, and Ravens, if all of those ended up being prime time, because you have the first overall picks versing each other with Burrow and Baker. You have the Browns for the first time in how long going 2-1 against the Steelers last year. They're going to want to, build up that hype, that emotion of that story. Cleveland's on their way back. And, everybody says that the Steelers are a big brother. So they're going to want to see that battle live on television. And why not do it in prime time? You kind of have the kings of the AFC North versus the up and comers. And then you have Lamar Jackson versus Baker. Who wouldn't want to see that in prime time? Everybody remembers that Monday night game from last season. And it was spectacular. It was a great game. We fell on short, but it was a fantastic game to watch. And then I think we're going to want to see Kansas City facing the Browns in prime time. And I think the nation would want to see that as well.
Yeah, the other one that could end up being another one is the Cardinals, the one that they added at end. You've got Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, former number 1 overalls, Cliff Kingsbury, and Baker Mayfield. So there are a bunch of storylines that you can do nationally with that as well.
Oh, I forgot about the Cardinals. I forgot that they added that game. But that's another one. Absolutely, you'd want to see it, because when Freddie was here and we had that game in Arizona, it was a little, it wasn't great. And, Baker's a very prideful guy, so he's going to want to play well against his friends and somebody that he went to college with. So, yeah, I definitely I got to agree with you on that. I think that's one that they could add to it, and it would be a fantastic game just to see him and Kyler Murray go back and forth, because, like I said, Baker drives himself on that competition, and there's no better competition than between friends. So when you're joking around and you could, get those little digs in and make those good throws and have your buddy on the sideline going, oh, wow, that's an incredible play. That's when Baker shines, and Kyler Murray shines as well in those moments. So, yeah, that's definitely one that I could see in prime time.
Jake Underwood from WTAM and I going to take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, more Browns talk. We'll take a look at Pro Football Focus's most improved defensive lines. We'll also get into the Indians and Cubs getting ready to start a 2-game series. Shane Bieber will get the start tonight against the Chicago Cubs. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Life is starting to get back on track, and you can too. If you or your family have experienced financial hardship as a result of COVID-19, Tri-C can help with full tuition assistance. Safely get the in-demand degree or training you need with online and on-campus classes. Go to tric-edu to check out our programs and resources. So, what are you waiting for? Register now for summer classes. Tri-C is where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Sports4CLE continues. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue talking Browns with Jake Underwood from WTAM. Jake, Pro Football Focus ranked the most improved defensive lines in the NFL. Patriots were number 1. The Cleveland Browns were number 2. How much better do you think this Browns front is with what Andrew Berry has done in this offseason?
It's 1,000 times better than it was last year, and that's nothing against Olivier Vernon, but I hope he heals from his Achilles injury. That's never good. But when Myles Garrett went out, you really saw the lack of depth on this team, and you really saw just how much of the pressure is on Myles Garrett. So now you add Jadeveon Clowney and you bring in Takk McKinley and Malik Jackson. If he could stay healthy, we have a very good defensive line. I think the reason why they're ranked second is because there are a lot of question marks. There is, if Takk McKinley can get his head in the game, Jadeveon Clowney is going to show up and do what he needs to do. The only constant and consistent player that we have on our defensive line right now is Myles Garrett. We know how good Myles Garrett is. We aren't sure about Malik Jackson, Takk McKinley, and Jadeveon Clowney. If it all comes together, we by far have the best defensive line in the league. If it doesn't, oddly enough, I think we might still have a top 10 line. It's just whether or not it all comes together.
It's really interesting. When we talked about the defense a year ago, we knew it was going to struggle. But we kept saying this line is the strength. In order for them to be really good, the line has to dominate. And we've just talked about how much they've upgraded the line. That'll give you an idea of how much they've upgraded this defense.
Yeah, Andrew Berry, he's done an incredible job. And a lot of people were nervous because he came from the quote-unquote Sashi tree where, analytics and we're cutting, pay here and we're going to cut this older guy here. And I know some people were freaking out when Sheldon Richardson got cut. And you heard it a little bit, especially on social media. They started chirping in. But it was, oh, my God, here we go again. We're cutting good players just so we could try to save money. And then they make the moves that they did with Jadeveon Clowney. Andrew Berry doesn't make he's always one or two steps ahead. So he doesn't make a move without fully thinking it through. And where we thought that John Dorsey was kind of that guy, and don't get me wrong, John Dorsey deserves a lot of credit, but John Dorsey's ego got in the way a little bit, as where with Andrew Berry, I see Andrew Berry more as the guy who's like, hey, you know what? I don't care who gets credit. I just want to do a good job. And it's kind of contagious to the team, especially when you look at Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, for instance. You listen to them talk about each other, it seems like they're best of friends. They don't care who gets the carries or who gets the touchdowns as long as they're winning. And I think that comes from the relationship between Andrew Berry and Stefanski. And you can kind of see it all coming together. Now, what we need to have is on our defense, that same attitude. I don't see Myles Garrett. getting in the way of anybody having success. And I don't see Jadeveon Clowney doing that. I think if we all can kind of get that attitude of Andrew Berry, where I don't care who does it, as long as we have success and we're good at doing it, we'll be fine.
Without question. All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Indians getting ready to open up a quick 2-game series against the Cubs. Shane Bieber gets the start. Take a listen to Terry Francona talking about the difference between Austin Hedges catching Shane Bieber and Roberto Perez catching Shane Bieber.
I think he caught him, I want to say 2 or 3 times in the spring. And I think, because of Biebs and Berto's relation by that I mean working together, it was kind of off the charts. So I think to expect that off the get-go is not fair, but I think Hedges is just fine. I mean, I've been so pleased with the way he's run the game, even before Berto got hurt when he'd get a chance to catch. But now that he's been in there, like 2 out of 3, his energy, his paying attention to detail is really, really good. He really cares about getting his pitchers through the inning and through the game, and I enjoy that a lot.
And Jake, that's one of the things I'm going to keep an eye on as we watch Austin Hedges, who's done a nice job. I think Roberto Perez's defense and the way he calls the game is pretty underappreciated. It's pretty special in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it really is. And we saw it a lot last season when we had Sandy Leon in. And it seemed 4 or 5 times a game we were watching pitches get away from Sandy Leon. And that's not the case with Roberto Perez. I think the most underrated part about Roberto Perez is he's consistently good on defense. And that unless the pitch is just way out there, it's not getting past him. So, the infielders, they feel a little more secure knowing that guy's going to stop it if it gets anywhere near him. And especially, having that relationship with Shane Bieber, it is a good thing. It's kind of like when, you have your coworker or your friends that you work with, you all kind of know the way that you work. So you know what so-and-so is going to do before they do it. And that's kind of the relationship that Shane Bieber and Roberto Perez have. Now, the good thing is Shane Bieber's a great pitcher. And, if you watch, and work with them so much the way that Hedges has, you start to develop that a little bit. I don't think Hedges could step in and be exactly like Roberto Perez, but I think he will be a lot better than Sandy Leon was for his last season.
Yeah, you can tell that already. His defense is pretty good. So the other thing Terry Francona discussed was just how this young team has been able to bounce back. They get no hit, and they come back and they play. They've been able to handle adversity, and this is what he had to say about the Indians handling the adversity and coming back.
I hope you're not asking me that like 4 or 5 more times. I think we're inconsistent offensively, but I think our guys play and they don't pout, which I appreciate. I think we knew going in that, there's times when it's hard for us offensively. We know that. But at least they play, and that means a lot. They don't fold the tent or pout, and we continue to play. And ultimately, what's important is what our record is. And how you get there sometimes is a little different than maybe you think it should be.
And Jake, that's credit to the guy that is just saying that. That's credit to Terry Francona.
Yeah, I definitely. So on Saturday, we on WTAM, we have a Tribe Insider, and we have a segment called Winners and Losers. And it was the day after the no-hit. Ironically enough, my winner was the Indians and my loser was the Indians, because the Indians, and it still stands right now, they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. So to be able to bounce back from being no-hit, I couldn't imagine how that would feel. Not one person could get a hit. It's got to drive them nuts. So to be able to bounce back and find that success and come together as a team, you could say many things about Tito Francona, but you can never say anything bad about how he believes in his players. Sometimes to a fault, Tito will put his neck out on the line for certain players. We saw it a little bit with Kipnis, Napoli, different guys like that, where he might hold on a little bit too long because he believes in these players. You can never question how loyal Tito is to his guys. And I think the team's responds to that very well, and that's why they play hard for Tito.
Jake Underwood from WTAM. Great stuff as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. That'll do it for this edition for Sports4CLE. We will see you again tomorrow. Scheduled guest Ellis Williams, Mark Munch Bishop. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow at 4 o'clock right here on Sports4CLE.